From Claw's grounded South African ship all the way to the war-torn streets of Sokovia, we want to hear your nerd shout. And today, we're shouting about Age of Ultron. Hey guys, Kevin Becker here with the rest of the nerdSHOUT team, and we've got no strings. I have a little bit of string in my pocket. Here's the rest of the team.
Hey guys, this is Demetris Hartman. I've got Thor's tankard. I want another!
Hey gang, it's Mark Cirillo, and I've got an infinity crystal.
Everyone, it's Keyla Teixeira, and look what I got. A little vision. It's so cute.
Welcome to the nerdSHOUT Age of Ultron review, where we're going to talk about what we thought about the film, and what we liked, what we didn't like, how we liked the new characters, all this really great stuff, and we want to know what you guys thought about it. So after you've watched the film, and after you've watched this, so make sure you've watched Age of Ultron first, because there will be spoilers.
This is a major spoiler review.
We're going to start with spoilers right off the bat, so spoiler alert. So make sure you've seen Age of Ultron, then come on back, watch this video, and then let us know your thoughts. If you agree, disagree, what you think, because as you will see, we have 4 very different opinions on this panel, which is fantastic. So, to start us off, Age of Ultron. The first topic I would like us to talk about is the new characters introduced in Age of Ultron, mainly because the title is Age of Ultron, so let's talk about Ultron.
Yep.
Should we start with Kayla's opinion of Ultron?
Oh, I think we should.
I think we should.
Oh, dear Kayla, what do you think of Ultron?
Okay, so people might hate me for this opinion, but I'm just going to say it. I was not pleased, and I did not like Ultron in the movie. I mean, I loved the movie, but Ultron really disappointed me because they made him... some people are really going to disagree with me on this, but they made him so human and, like, crazy and, like, insane, and I didn't appreciate that. I really just wanted, like, a robot villain that obviously was crazy, but because of his understanding of humanity makes him think that humanity is the problem, therefore wanting to cause an extinction, and human race should be extinct. But I just did not like how Ultron was like insane, and like he would, for example, at the end of the movie when he was like riding away before Hulk like smashed the Quinjet, or one of the Quinjets, or one of the jets. He was like singing that song like in that crazy type manner. I just didn't really appreciate his progression of insanity. They made him so human-like, in my opinion. And I know some people are going to very, very, very strongly disagree with me, like you guys, but I did not like Ultron for that reason. It does not take away from the performance. The vocal performance from James Spader was absolutely phenomenal. I would not have wanted anybody else to voice Ultron. It's just what they did with Ultron in making him so human-like and insane. Me personally, that's not what I wanted from him as a villain.
See, I think that that's interesting. I can understand why he would go mad, because he has full access to the entire internet like in 1 second, so he sees the entire madness of the world that affects him into it. I see how he can be a mad villain. I like that about him. What I didn't think was good about Ultron is that they rushed through his creation to the point where it didn't have a strong foundation throughout the movie. I would have really liked to see Ultron interact with Tony Stark, so that there is that back and forth relationship of Ultron learning from Tony Stark, picking up his sense of humor, something like that, and really grounding that sense of him being his creator, his father, that is brought up so frequently throughout the movie. But there's no actual basis to put this on, you know? Like, he just becomes this ultimate evil villain that wasn't even created by Tony Stark. Because if you look at it, they're trying really hard. They've been trying for 3 days. They're going to have to return the scepter. and they failed every single time. And then it's Jarvis that actually puts the algorithms together and manages to make sense of the patterning of the AI that becomes Ultron. So that's all Jarvis that it ends up working in the end. You just see a computer screen says that it's been a link, you know, it works. And then suddenly Ultron is created. You have the, you know, you have the cyberspace in which he resides. He really quickly learns to be who he is, like that, and then destroys Jarvis and is out. And then he shows up at the party and tries to kill everybody, and everyone suddenly knows, oh, it's Ultron, and makes sense. But they've been creating Ultron for a long time. I know that there's also a basis in Hydra technology, but they only used a technological aspect of it, like a scientific aspect of it. There was no neural patterning inside any of the research data that they found. So they just took the research that was done on the staff, combined it with the AI knowledge that Tony Stark has created so far and has built so far to make Jarvis and other such intelligences, and then created Ultron. And it just wasn't enough of a story arc for me to believe in Ultron as a villain. Now, once he was Ultron, once he created his body, his physicality, his movement, I loved it. I loved his humorous quips, all that kind of stuff. There was a real character there, but there was no actual basis for this real character to begin from. That is my basic issue with it. Now, I don't know about you two guys, though. I know.
You want to go first? You want me to go first?
We might go at the same time.
We loved it. Here's my counterpoint to what you're saying. Is that when I think about it, so we know that Tony and Bruce have been working on an Ultron program.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But that this is the final piece to make it viable.
Yes.
Because obviously Tony can make artificial intelligence. So this isn't, oh my god, I figured out artificial intelligence because of the staff. This is, I figured out a way to make a massive artificial intelligence because this will actually get us there. Jarvis runs more of the business than anyone but ever.
Yeah, he says that. Tony says that.
So Tony's not able to make artificial intelligence. He just hasn't been able to make it right. He hasn't been able to make it, I think, care. And the unfortunate part is that when Ultron comes on, based on the programming that they have of the Ultron program, which, granted, goes like, we can make Ultron. Oh, shit. Yeah. Okay. But they've obviously been working on that for a while. You've got, and I mentioned this before, the first thing that happens, Ultron turns on, I don't understand what's going on. Jarvis, you are a system created by Mr. Stark. Boom. Downloads Tony Stark. It's the first thing. To me, it's technological imprinting. It is the first thing you see, the first thing an animal sees.
Right.
Oh, that's my mother. You were created by Tony Stark.
And therefore he needs to follow, but there wasn't any...
He downloads everything that
literally
they have,
everything,
like all of their information.
Right.
So he realizes, like, oh, they've been working on me for this long. I'm the Ultron Project. Like, that's all, like, instantly, he knows everything. He knows more about the Avengers than the Avengers do.
Yeah.
Like, which is what Black Widow
and about
said.
their psychology and everything like that. I get it. And then there's all the files of S.H.I.E.L.D. that were released online, so all the psychological...
And it wasn't a finished, like, program,
he's a child.
which
That's the important part.
Exactly.
And I guess I didn't think about this.
You got all the information, but not any direction on how to process it.
Yeah. And the thing I didn't think about was that, oh man, I just had it. And it went away because we started talking about something else. So, no, okay. So, the daddy issues actually come from Tony. Like, he has issues with Tony Stark. I'm not Tony Stark. I'm better than him. Right. Because they both have the same goal. To me, it's the daddy issues are Tony. Tony says it first. You're going to break your old man's heart. And then Tony goes after him because he created him. I think, yes, he has daddy issues, not to the effect that I think
he says that in South Africa, though. That's the first, like,
that's what Tony says. But and Ultron says, I am not Tony Stark. But I could see that very much as, you know, Tony's plan was to do this, and he failed. I am better, and I will prove it. Because I feel like he starts out, I am better, I will prove it, and along the way gets to, screw it, reboot.
One thing, little tiny tangent, is I love that is the reason why Ulysses Claw gets his
arm cut off.
Arm cut off. Yeah, I thought that was great. That was awesome. Actually, that's a really valid point. It still doesn't take away from the fact that, like, I felt the pacing is very much off during that first act about developing Ultron as a character. You're left to assume a lot. Like, that's my issue about this movie. That I don't think that it should spoon feed you the stories, but at the end, like, you're still trying to decipher, and a lot of people have had that issue. Well, a lot of people are happy with it, but having to decipher the entire story and explain it rather than just seeing it and embracing it. That was the simplicity, I thought, of the first Avengers, that it followed these great beats, and it was very simple. But the first
Avengers, you knew your villain ahead of time. We didn't have to establish Loki. He showed up and started whooping ass before we even saw the Avengers get assembled. We had a movie with him.
And that's the problem with a lot of, like, them being like, oh, we need more character development. Well, that's kind of hard because there's so much backstory in all these characters that so many of the fans know, and they put just enough that, like, regular movie audiences can follow, too. Like,
I mean, look at the 1990s Batman movies. Like, I love those. I love Jack Nicholson's Joker. I love Danny DeVito's Penguin. We don't really get, like, parents threw him in a. Why does he have clowns? Like
right. It doesn't make any sense. Why is he a circus act now?
Yeah. but the thing is, still are left a lot to assume and to figure out.
That's a different kind of mystery, though, that makes these characters. You see them like fully fledged, fully embodied. You don't really see their creation. It's kind of hinted at, like with Penguin being thrown by his mother into the gutter and floating through, and that's almost his backstory. You see this little journey. That's the intro for Batman Returns, which was awesome about it. And it had that very unique Tim Burton, directorial style that we kind of lost these days. But anyway. That this film didn't have. It was just so fast. Way too fast. It was almost like, all right, we kind of did this. We can get away with explaining that this is this, and this because you guys are going to be explaining it to yourselves afterwards instead of us showing you like a real dramatic connection between these two. Also, on top of that, how did Ultron have any access to the twins? Because that's another topic. Like,
let's go ahead and talk about the twins.
How does he contact them in Sokovia? How does he get in touch with them and say, like, hey, let's chat?
I mean, I assumed through Hydra channels, because they're Hydra agents.
I mean, and he controls all computers. Like,
tap into text anything. Them anytime he wants.
Yeah.
I guess it just...
I mean, I will give you this. When I saw Ultron go flying away with the scepter, and then suddenly we have a full Ultron in the church, that was my, whoa, that was fast.
Yes.
Like, that was my, whoa, that was fast. Granted, I'll give you that one. But since
we're in one little bit.
No, I will let you have that. I loved this movie very much. But, and not to say that you guys didn't.
Well, that's the thing, that it was really good, but I like being able to find the flaws in things that we love, because that's something that if we can point out, then Marvel can focus on and fix, rather than just say like, okay, we're just gonna let it be a throwaway kind of hint or whatever. It's better to create it really fully and have a good explanation for things.
But let's talk about the three other new characters that we've got. We've got the twins, we've got Scarlet Witch, we've got Quicksilver, and we've got the Vision. Before I nerd all over this camera about the Vision, let's have somebody else do it first.
Okay. Keyla,
as our resident super fangirl, why don't we let you go ahead? What are your thoughts on our new characters, Wanda, Pietro, and La Vision?
Oh my god, my baby Scarlet Witch, she was so amazing. I'm like totally, like 2 hours later of me fangirling over Scarlet Witch in Age of Ultron. I thought Scarlet Witch was portrayed amazingly. She was absolutely fantastic. Elizabeth Olsen did a really, really great job. The only thing that like threw me off occasionally really was the whole like accent business with her and her brother. Like, I understand why it was there, but I felt like the accent was kind of like there was a strong accent at certain parts of the movie, and then the accent wasn't really there in some other parts of the movie. So that's my only like little complaint. But I just thought her character was portrayed so well. What I loved, or like, there's this one shot in the beginning of the movie when she like goes to Captain America in the castle in Sokovia, so whatever it's called, and then this is more like how this like shot was like scene was shot, but when she like does her thing to Captain America and she quickly backs away through these doors, I just love that choice of shooting in that way, because I felt like that adds on to how like crazy and insane she is, how much I really appreciated that. And then I really loved moments in the film where her powers were really like you could see the scale of her power, which we haven't seen completely, but we saw a really great scale of her power when her brother died, Quicksilver. Which I'm kind of disappointed. I mean, like, it sucks that we're not going to see that he died, and I hope he, like, I have no idea if Quicksilver's supposed to be coming back or it's completely confirmed that he's just dead. But I was super disappointed, but also really sad. Like, when he died, like, it was an emotional, like, shot to me because I really love Scarlet Witch, and seeing her reaction to her brother's death really, like, hit me hard because I'm just like, damn, this is really going to, like, affect her in a way where it's going to set her off to a path of madness, which I really want her to just, like, really, in the future movies with her, I'm looking forward to seeing the capacity of her powers, the scale of her powers to really grow. But I thought it was amazing. I loved her outfit. I just loved the portrayal of her. And really quickly before I throw it back to you guys, Vision was absolutely amazing. What I loved is that he was so godlike. Like, he was just like a higher being. And the fact that when he picked up Thor's hammer, everyone in the theater was everyone freaked out. It was phenomenal. Vision was such a, like, godlike character. He's just higher than everybody else, and I just love the way he was portrayed, and, like, he was kind of sexy. He's a little Paul Bettany as Vision, very, very sexy. So maybe that's like my inner Scarlet Witch, because I am her in a second life. My inner Scarlet Witch really loving Vision, but Vision was absolutely phenomenal. But what do you guys think? I know Quicksilver died, so is Quicksilver coming back at all, or is this like, is it too late for him, or are we not going to see him again ever in future MCUs?
Yes. Yeah. Well, you guys are forgetting my new favorite character, which is Hawkeye's wife, played by Linda Cardellini.
He knows her, that's why.
I went to college with Linda. But I didn't know she was in it. She doesn't tell anybody. She can't tell anybody that she's
I love her.
in it, but I didn't know.
They'd announced like 2 weeks ago that she was in it.
She was in it, that's right. But nobody knew exactly what she was going to be doing in it. And
I was fairly certain she was the Hulk. Because I think she's good enough to pull it off. Yeah.
She-Hulk.
That would have been cool.
She has the skill to pull off.
That's how they introduced She-Hulk.
Oh my god, that would be
kept
great.
It from everybody.
She-Hulk, that would be awesome.
Maybe she still could be.
Well, they should introduce her. Actually, I think they should introduce She-Hulk in Daredevil. But anyways, because she is a lawyer. But anyways, let's get back onto Pietro, Wanda.
Vision! I love the Vision.
I
love the Vision, and I thought he was perfect.
It's the best thing in our lives, Kevin.
He happened
It's the best thing in the world.
If the Vision had a film with the Runaways, I wouldn't need other human beings. Like, I'd just be sitting in my house with my Blu-ray of that film, just rocking myself to sleep. Somebody else start talking.
I think, like, for me, like, I couldn't agree more. Vision is the best thing that has happened to the Marvel Cinematic Universe since it got turned into a cinematic universe. Pretty much. And we saw the first Avengers. But I thought Vision was freaking phenomenal. And even though his origin story was so rushed, his made so much sense. Simply because they let him lift up the hammer. That was it. That was like Joss Whedon saying, like, picked up the hammer, done. He's worthy, that's all.
I screamed in a crowded theater.
Oh my god, I did as well. I was like, wow!
I went,
I got you all beat because I went, oh!
And then I saw it, and the second time I saw it, I still out loud was like, wow. And that time, like, all the theater did at that time. The first time I felt like was I the only one that was like...
the first time everybody was laughing. Everyone was like, ha 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 ha. And meanwhile, I'm up in the middle row just like, ah, sploosh. I'm just done.
He's perfect. And, like, all of it made sense. The fact that he has the Mind Stone linked with him. That, like, a lot of his powers derive from that. That you know,
and he had the whole back personality of Jarvis.
Yes.
Like the whole... Like,
and they've been building his character up sort of with Jarvis.
It was Agent Carter.
Even then, it's just like they've been given so much backstory. to the Vision, or like to Jarvis turning into Vision, but the Vision isn't Jarvis.
Yeah.
He doesn't
Right,
think
no.
like Jarvis.
No.
Jarvis just doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
He's now
he's done.
Tony has Friday.
He has Friday,
which is my favorite because he has his girl Friday.
And
Veronica.
this is gonna be in
Not Veronica.
not Veronica.
No,
No,
Jocasta. Thank you.
Jocasta, who becomes the bride of Ultron later on in the storyline. She's bad,
right.
but then she turns good. Turns with the Avengers, and she was made out of Janet Van Dyne's brainwaves. Anyway, however, we can talk about that in Easter eggs.
Ant-Man.
Going June. Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. I really like them. Like their introduction in Winter Soldier, but in this film, their whole backstory felt kind of flimsy. The accents were not good, guys. Like, I would have stuck with the accents and believed them if at least when they were alone together, they spoke their native tongue to each other. Like, why did they speak English? It made their cause a lot less strong. They kind of hated, you know, America and Tony Stark and the whole, you know, business of war that the country and his enterprise is into. So why would they be speaking so eloquently in this accent when they're alone with each other? That was a little flimsy for me. Other than that, their powers were really well done.
Yeah, you know what's funny is I usually notice things like that, and I didn't even notice that they spoke English the whole time, which wasn't their native tongue.
I don't know. For me, it just
But
it really
the whole movie was that way too. Wasn't anybody foreign? Nobody spoke in actual.
Right, the police in Sokovia all spoke English really
Yes.
really well.
I feel like
Really well.
that's a thing in movies where like this is where they draw the line. They're just having everybody speaking English, and it's like a leap of faith where you're like, okay, well, yeah, so that these people are speaking their own
I feel
language,
like
but for the purposes to keep the story moving, we're just gonna you understand.
Yeah, it's a thing that I've been
Yeah.
dealing because I've been rewatching Star Wars: The Clone Wars, and I'm like, they can't speak basic. What are they doing? But I mean, for pace and the fact that this is an all audience, like I was thinking about in Daredevil, they do subtitles for a lot. There's a lot of subtitles in Daredevil.
Right,
But that's
there's
a
a lot
more
of
mature
languages.
language. That's a more mature audience base. This is going for a wider.
It's supposed to be all audiences, yeah.
And so like, well, let's make them speak English so that nobody. And I mean, like, it's a silly Hollywood move, but
They could just put subtitles though.
yeah, but reading isn't what we do anymore. You know,
No,
it's
like once you hit an IMAX screen, the subtitles are so in your face you can't like avoid.
I mean,
seeing
I
it.
understand that, but I think it's just Hollywood is just dumbing things down a little bit.
Then I guess, but then that's my issue with a lot of what they did with the plot in this. They try to dumb down a lot of things to just these like kick-ass action sequences one after the other. It's like, let's focus less on developing like the storyline and more show a lot of action sequences. That's kind of what bothered me, and that's what bothered me also with the explanation of their characters, that they were sitting there staring at a rocket that had the name Stark on it, and that's pretty much it. That's their backstory.
During a huge traumatic point in their life where their parents just died in front of their eyes, and then they're trapped, scared to death under a bed, and the only thing they can see right in front of them is this bomb that may or may not go off that just has the word Stark on it. I thought that was an intense, super powerful backstory.
That's an incredibly super powerful backstory. I get it. I like that.
I never see you do that.
It gets so intense. I see that.
Save it up.
Right, yes. But the thing is that the entire moment was just like filled with this pretentious, like, yeah, we were just looking at the Stark name on the rocket.
Well,
and
that,
stuff like
after
that.
many years of having dealt with it, you start to talk about these events because you talk about them so much that
The
they come out
repetition
matter
of
of
it?
fact. They come
guess.
out matter of fact.
I get.
But what
I don't
actually
know.
bothered me about that was character-wise was that he was that way, and then sometimes she would talk about it, and she would actually still like seemed like emotional about it or whatever. But I noticed
Scarlett's
their
raw.
accents go in and out. Like those
Yeah.
yours weren't great, which I don't understand because if the actors have all of this time to transform their bodies, then they know well in advance how long. Like, didn't they have that much time to learn an accent and with the same coach? at the same time, so they had the same accent. Because they also had different.
Apparently,
accents.
they didn't have an accent coach. Apparently, they just developed the
that's
accent
fucked
together.
up because they're paying the nutritionists and they're paying the personal trainers.
But when it comes down to the accent and being authentic,
yeah, it's like that. I mean, I thought that was a little weak, but I loved the movie. So I loved Ultron. I loved all the new characters. I actually consider Hawkeye a new character because he didn't have one before.
Yes.
Let's move on then to
Hawkeye.
our current characters, the characters that we know and that we love.
I didn't know Hawkeye. He barely existed in the last movie.
I honestly would have called this film Avengers Age of Hawkeye. I
Yes.
think because
I
was in love with that character. My favorite, I keep quoting it around our apartment. We keep quoting it. Is the no one would know.
No one would.
Last time I saw him, Ultron was sitting on him. I missed the poor little speedy bastard. Like I love that section.
It was
So
perfect.
funny.
Everything
and
about
that
his
running
character.
joke. I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
I just think everything about his character was so perfect in this movie. Everything about
Yeah.
him. Like Jeremy Renner is a great actor, and they let him shine in this movie.
Yeah, and that's the thing is I saw like if you've not read
Like, I don't
that
know.
was terrible. I didn't even realize that.
Have you not seen Hurt Locker? Have you
No,
not
I
seen
did.
any of the
I
other
saw-
movies
I've
that
seen
he's been
them
in?
all.
Here's
I've
what
seen
I'm gonna
them
say.
all.
Here's what I want you
No, I
guys
think
to
he's
do.
good. It was on your direction.
Find a moment where four of us agree on something. Just and if you find it, let me know. But here's the thing. Here's the thing that I absolutely loved is if you've not read Matt Fraction's Hawkeye, do it because it's fantastic. And I saw a lot of Matt Fraction's Hawkeye, the very like snarky like working Joe kind of guy that's in Fraction's Hawkeye, and I loved that. I miss the dog, but we'll get there.
And is that also like all of Hawkeye's like self-aware stuff? Because I love that he was just like, yeah, I shoot a bow and arrow.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, we're in a crazy world. Like, yeah, it was just so
The city is
self-aware.
flying. The city is flying.
And just acknowledging that fact, I thought was just really
it's like
smart.
it's a
which
thought
is
that
a
the
Joss
audience
Whedon
has
thing.
had for so long at
Always.
this point, and he just brought them right into it and into this moment of like. Yeah, like, it's unlikely that I should survive any of these situations. It's just that I have trained myself to have these skills and to just say, this is my job, this is my duty, they've got one speed, go, and that's
and
what
they
I
keep
do.
hanging it over their head. That they're just like, no, there'd be no team without you. They're like, I know. You're the glue, Hawkeye.
And then he turns
him
out-
and his wife.
And then he
she's
turns
just
out
like, no, they can't
to
be
be
without you.
he is the humanizing part of it.
Yeah.
Kayla, what did you think of Hawkeye in this film?
Yeah.
I'm really happy that they decided to give Hawkeye a better storyline in the second Avengers film. I definitely was known really because Joss Whedon said Hawkeye was going to have a much larger role in this movie, and I really loved what they did with him because it just made me love him 10 times more. Because we haven't really seen that side of him, and he made a few jokes in the movie, which was nice, and his wife, what? I just probably never, I probably just don't know enough about him to even know that he has a wife and kids. So if that's in the comics, whoops, my bad. I did not know. But I really did enjoy his character in this movie. One of the things I absolutely loved is a pep talk that he gave Scarlet Witch during the Battle of Sokovia. And it was so I felt it. I was there with her wanting to go out and kick some ass because it was just such a, it was being a dad really. And I've been seeing a few few things online the hashtag HawkDad, and I've seen a few fan arts of him with Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch hugging both of them, and I really love that because he did set himself up as he's the dad of the team, hashtag HawkDad, and just taking care of the team, especially he really went out on a limb by revealing that he has a family to the rest of the team. And I really love that twist in the story because I wasn't expecting that, and I'm really liking where he's going. I'm excited to see where his character does go. This whole Hawkdad thing I absolutely love because now that Quicksilver is dead apparently, I hope in future films they have this him and Scarlet Witch have grown deeper connection in that like fatherly figure to her. So I'm really excited to see that. Hashtag HawkDad.
HawkDad.
Hashtag HawkDad. I love it.
Okay.
I don't know if I get it.
He's a dad.
He is. He's like a spiritual
also
father.
Has
to-
the power of a hawk to shoot arrows.
Alright, anyway.
I don't know.
I don't know what that is. Nobody does.
Nobody does anymore.
The other character, like I know a lot of people
Oh.
have been saying, like, oh, Tony and Cap and Thor don't get a ton of character moments. They get some, but also they have their own movies.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I think it was a really great
Hawkeye
choice to
doesn't
focus
have
on Hawkeye, and I mean, Black Widow is in the Captain America movies, though she had great moments. She was wonderful in this movie.
Yeah, she
But
had a good
her
backstory.
and Hawkeye and Bruce really had great stuff this film. What did you guys think about? And I didn't mean to put them together, but Scarlett Johansson, Black Widow,
I guess
and Bruce Banner.
It's kind of difficult to not see their development as characters apart in this movie because they very much, a lot of their development is
It's
based
together,
on their
yeah.
relationship of you know what they have with each other. Now, I liked it. I didn't like how it came out of nowhere. That's kind of like my equipment. And a lot of people have been talking about. Some people really love it. Some people hate it. Other people are in between. I'm more so in the in between because the relationship did kind of pop out of nowhere, and she's already like the one who can calm down the Hulk. When in like the last movie, he almost destroyed her and ripped her to shreds. It's just it's a kind of relationship that really had no foundation in any of the other movies. Just this film. Which is, I mean, it's a bold choice it's a bold direction to go in, especially since they pretty much ended that with this film, unless they choose to carry it on.
I don't know. I would like to see this conflicted relationship continue. I think one of the things that we saw is we saw their last raiding party. So they've obviously been hunting the scepter since the end of Winter Soldier.
Right.
And granted, yes, there's a lot that we haven't seen there, but I feel like there's enough time between those for it to have been brewing in those moments.
Right. Well, I thought that they'd been hunting this. So I guess the scepter was taken because Hydra was working with S.H.I.E.L.D. Or Hydra was S.H.I.E.L.D., and that's how it ended up in Von Strucker's hands. So my kind of issue with that was that obviously there was no other link to it unless you'd seen the other movies. That it wasn't like really standalone the way that it flowed into it. You'd have to have seen everything else, including Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., if you wanted to know the reason why they find Von Strucker in this movie. But I just kind of would have really liked if I'd seen some more of their exploits as the Avengers being hinted at throughout everything else, at least in that case. To make a little more sense as to, oh, they're the Avengers. That they didn't just do this one-off thing in the first movie, and then their second outing together is Avengers: Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
I would really like to see that gap in between be filled in, at least in the other Marvel Cinematic stuff, but they haven't done that.
Yeah, it seems like they disbanded until right after Winter Soldier.
Right.
And then after Winter Soldier, the only film we had was Guardians, which was way far away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and
had
so
nothing to do
yeah,
with
it was totally disconnected. Here's what I'm intrigued for the future of the Marvel universe is we've got Ant-Man next, then Civil War, and then with the exception of Thor, we take a break from our big hitters for a while.
We do.
We step back for a couple years, and Chris Evans has said that Civil War is the setup for Infinity War.
Yeah.
He's like, that's going to be the jumping off point. So we kind of get to live with the world again. We have been like, how's it going to all fit together? How's it going to all fit together? How's it going to all fit together? And now we get to kind of sit back and have the awe that I think we all had when watching Guardians. Because watching Guardians of the Galaxy and going like, granted, we knew that Thanos was going to show up. Like, he's a huge Guardians of the Galaxy villain. And it's one of those things, but like, oh, these couple things that work together, these little, the Infinity Gem, awesome, great, we figured it was, and then it was, and it was cool, and just that, like, world existing instead of world connecting is what I'm excited for the rest of the MCU.
Right. Well, that's
what I kind of love about what it seems like they're doing. It's just like, you know, like the way Daredevil exists in that section of New York, and like
that.
all of these things are happening. And you see, like, even on the last episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., like, you see a flash of, oh, the Avengers saved the world again. You know, like, you know, like that kind of thing.
It'd be really nice to have those hints dropped into it. However, I feel that, and like Civil War is a really important plot, like storyline in the comic books. I don't want it, because my disappointment is that Ultron was a bit of a throwaway villain in this movie. He was done really well because of Spader, but he was almost like a filler villain for the second Avengers, just to show that they're doing something else and also progress everything else in like in the direction of Infinity War. I don't want these movies that are really significant or that have to be really significant to these characters' developments be more like setup movies, and everything else is a setup movie and a setup movie. I'm scared that Civil War will not be given the proper respect because it's going to be more of a setup film for Infinity War rather than it being like, oh, it's when everything goes to shit for these characters.
That's what I've been saying since you need more characters in Civil War. You need this in Civil War. First off, it is very, very obvious that we're not going to see the Civil War that you read.
Yeah.
It's going to have the same heart because the concept art that came out is Tony versus Cap.
Yeah.
Like, that's what's happening. But that's what I was worried about, that it was going to get too big for its britches. But I am putting faith in it because I was real worried about this as well. Once it started coming out, there were all people coming into this. That I was like, it's just another setup movie. And I really enjoyed it.
It was enjoyable, but that's what I had. My problem was like there was too much setup for a lot of things.
I don't know. I mean, because I thought we got the grasp of how huge Ultron is in the world, and as far as like the things all happening in the same universe at the same time, like I feel like I got that. Okay, well, what we weren't seeing, but I accept that happened, was Black Widow and Bruce Banner.
David Banner. It's not the show.
Bruce Banner, like working on that for like a long time. They just don't necessarily need to show that in the film where things have to happen. And I feel like the in between stuff, it's like, well, maybe they don't need all the Avengers at once to solve a lot of the smaller problems.
Yeah.
And then they have their own things going on in their own lives, and they just come back together for like the big stuff, and that's like their trading area, you know, Avengers Mansion and the new Avengers, like.
Yeah,
location.
it looked like it was Avengers Mansion, which got me super excited when
Yeah,
I saw it. I was like, yeah.
It is weird to like that your home base would be like right in the middle of New York City, like where there would be the possible most amount of victims.
Exactly.
But
Tony.
I'll say this, because a lot of this movie was.
I figured they were rebuilding since the last movie a lot.
But they haven't. It looks like New York is rebuilt completely.
Yeah,
like
no,
the
but
Star
I mean,
Tower is rebuilt.
But that all had to have happened, like what
in
we
between.
don't see, yeah.
Yeah, no, it was.
That's what they were working
it was the
on.
company in Daredevil that helped.
But I
build
just
all
sort
of
of
it.
accept.
That's what it was.
I just sort of accept that, yeah, like that stuff happened. I don't need to see everything.
Sure. The thing is, it's more of like concepts rather than like them having like a structure, because your past sometimes does matter in building who you are. So I'd really like to see that, or like I'd really like to see the whole mention of, you know, he's got the actual original arc reactor removed in Iron Man 3, but it's never like talked about at all in this.
That's true. I didn't
anything
think about
like
that.
Like I like these quips because he has changed as a character. He has changed as a human being, but we just see him how he sees. Like, at the end of Iron Man 3, he's, like, okay with himself suddenly. You know, he's back to being a human being. He doesn't have to rely on protecting his heart from these shards. It's supposed to be an evolution, but it's kind of like a de-evolution in this. And, like, these issues, these problems of incredible grandeur that he has. Like, he thinks so highly of himself to consider himself the destruction of the entire Avengers. And it looks like this vision that he had is actually a vision of the future. That he is the one that kills so many of these characters in Civil War and brings a lot of the end of the Avengers. A lot of it was build up. A lot of it was set up. Like that vision at the beginning, or with Thor: The Dark World being set up with these
Ragnarok.
kind of with Ragnarok. Sorry about that. Being set up with the visions of Thor. I think that the vision that he had originally was more than enough. They did not need to go to Royal Holloway and get Selvig to go to this well and jump in it and have him be half naked to read.
But the jumping in is what connected him to the Infinity Stones, though.
Right, I get it.
Right.
I totally get it. But it was just like a lot of
I'm not
time.
complain about the half naked. I mean, come on.
Yeah, of course. A lot of people won't complain about that. But it just wasn't enough. There wasn't enough essence to these scenes for them to drive the plot along. It was more so just setting up Ragnarok. That's what it was. And Joss Whedon said it, that a lot of his issues with making this movie was that Marvel and like Disney were saying that no, you need to put this, you need to put this, and you need to put this, when he wanted to actually have like more connections between the characters. You know, he wanted them more development for the characters. He wanted to even add Spider-Man and Captain Marvel in the
but
mix.
they didn't have the rights yet.
Do like a Grey Hulk reference into it. When Grey Hulk like the way they explain it in the storyline in the comic books is when Bruce Banner has control of the Hulk, he's a much less angry one, but he's very cognizant of everything. And so it's in Banner in sync with the Hulk. And that would have been awesome. And
See, I heard that the Grey Hulk was the Johannesburg fight.
Oh, you really?
That's what I heard from an interview, that he was supposed and I think it was Whedon or Feige who said it, that he was supposed to be the Grey Hulk in the Johannesburg fight.
I just feel that like I really want to watch this 3.5 hour long version. That's going to
I feel like that's going to be
I think is going to be the definitive version of Age of Ultron.
I think that's the version that director's cuts are always better because they're the versions that the director wanted to make. Yeah. And then, you know, you get studios involved and things, and the reality of Hollywood being what it is, people aren't going to really want to sit through a 3.5 hour movie unless it's The Hobbit. So,
but I feel, that's what I don't understand, is like, I feel these movies are at that level now.
Yeah.
I was like, they're making more money than that, you know? Yeah. Like, people are going to see them, and I think they would sit through.
I agree. I do think that people would sit through it. Kayla, what, my dear, do you think?
I mean, overall, final thoughts about the movie. I was very pleased with how the movie was composed. Did I like this one over the first Avengers film? I'm going to say no. I love the first Avengers film because I like the villain more, because I'm a sucker for villains. And I think Tom Hiddleston's Loki is just absolutely phenomenal. And as much as I love James Spader's Ultron, I didn't like I said earlier, I didn't like the decisions they made with Ultron in this movie. But overall, the movie was really great. I'm really excited. The number one thing about this movie, it just pumped me for Phase 3. There's just so much going on in Phase 3, and that's what this movie pumped me for. I thought it was like a good, solid beginning of what's to come, and especially with Thanos and the end credit scene, the post credit scene. I mean, that is just so exciting, and I'm just really excited for Phase 3. That's what this movie pumped me up about. And I know you guys, we're talking about superhero movies in general. The one thing that I'm super concerned about really is, like, I hope they don't, for the future of Marvel Cinematic Universe films. I know the films are doing really well in the box office, and that makes me really happy because we're gonna keep getting more and more. I really hope they don't sacrifice story or the storyline in the comic books purely for more ticket sales, just to get people buying. You know, I don't want them to sacrifice story just to make a good like action superhero movie. I don't think that's going to happen with Avengers Infinity War, because the Russo brothers are teaming up for that again for those two, Part 1 and Part 2. So maybe it won't happen, maybe it will, but that's my number one fear for the future MCU films. But overall, very pleased with Avengers Age of Ultron. It's definitely something I'm going to probably go to the theater and watch like 5 more times.
Well, now we get to my favorite part of the show, which is hearing what you guys think. So throughout the week, I've been asking you all, what are your reactions to Age of Ultron? And we have been getting a ton in. So what we're going to do is, we're going to head over to the Twitter box. And I want to read the Twitter box. Yes. I dug it up.
In the Jarvis voice, yes.
Oh, man, I wish I could do a Jarvis voice.
Oh.
But I can't, because I'm a failure. All right, so...
That's too harsh, man.
It came out of nowhere. Like, apparently...
Like Ultron!
So, at KJ McDude says, just saw Avengers Age of Ultron, which is unbelievably epic, with many exclamation points. Now I can finally watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
That's a really good point. I really love how they linked Age of Ultron, or at least the beginning of Age of Ultron, with last week's episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and then how they explained the whole, that's another little plot point that I had a problem with, the Deus Ex Machina thing of Nick Fury showing up with a helicarrier. I don't know how they got a helicarrier that fast to that side of the world after like less than 24 hours ago.
And how he got so involved when he hasn't been involved in either
he
S.H.I.E.L.D. on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
He just shows up out of nowhere. He gets all the paperwork signed with all these people that belong to S.H.I.E.L.D. that were fired back then, and their names are completely.
You're that guy who gets really sad because of the plumbers that got blown up on the Death Star, aren't you?
Those plumbers didn't deserve to die.
Because there's a lot of innocent people
work for the Imperial.
Just the hired help.
Yeah, you know, well, if you're a plumber for the Empire, you got it coming. I guess.
Yeah, I guess you suck. But like the thing was that I just really liked that they explained that it was Coulson and the Theta Protocol was actually the helicarrier all along.
Right.
That at least it explains how they still had a helicarrier.
There's still apparently a lot of paperwork.
And Coulson gets credit for it on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. We never saw him in the movie.
But
never
we're
allowed in the movie.
We're not going to.
But he was in every movie before that.
Yeah, but I mean, like Whedon said, it's important for them
to think he's still dead.
You don't just
as far as he's concerned,
that they're still fighting together for someone for a reason. Yeah.
Then we had at Molly Rebecca 31 says, OMG, the Avengers Age of Ultron rules! Sorry,
all caps all the time.
Then we have, oh man, I always used to get this wrong. Fix this for me.
Thais.
Thank you. It's been
Thais
just long enough. I forgot. Sorry.
At Thais _Maciel says, enjoy. The movie is amazing.
Exactly. And then I'm gonna throw it over here. What's up? So that
What else do we have?
Was that our last comment?
No, it was not. My phone went weird.
Oh, there we go.
All right. Why don't you read this one, Mark?
All right. Well, Oscar says, Mr. Fun Fantastic says, best movie ever. Are you going to review it? That's what we're doing right now.
We're dorks.
Yeah.
And then
we all thought alike at that one moment.
And then Dylan Winter Dwyer, my friend from back home, at D Winter Dwyer, this is a very valid point that Dylan made, is so many people are taking shots at Whedon, and I'm like, I can have criticism of a movie and love it at the same time.
Exactly.
Which is literally what we just did for, what is it, 4 hours? I don't know how long this video is going to be.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's such a great, thank you Dylan, such a great point.
That was a very well-rounded point.
Yeah.
This is what we do. We love, giving this criticism, not because that we don't love the movie, it's because we love it so much
because
that we can
care.
see. Exactly.
If we didn't care, we'd look at it and go, this looks really stupid. And I'm not saying that I've had that reaction about other films recently that I haven't seen except for the trailer, but I have. Yeah. And I'm sorry, really wanted it to be better, but other ones look okay. But
which one are you talking about?
I'm not.
That's not one specific.
I wanted it to be better. But, if we didn't care, we wouldn't do this. But we do care, and you do care. That's why you're clicking on the links. That's why you're coming to watch it. That's why you're tweeting to us about it. And that's the really, really cool part. Yeah. Because if we didn't care, we wouldn't have it. If people weren't going out going, I love these characters, I think they're fantastic, we would have had Iron Man 1, and then we'd be watching the 15th reboot of Captain America right now.
Yeah, that's where it would be right now.
Exactly. We'd be watching crap. And it is because we care as much, and because they care as much, that we're getting these awesome things that we get to sit here. So yeah,
that we get to see incredible action sequences with these characters that we love and adore, saving the world and just going on these globe-trotting adventures and getting to see the links like Wakanda being dropped in, even as the name Wakanada, no, it's Wakanda. It's just all these little bits are amazing, or that the deposits of vibranium are still there, and that Tony thought he got the entire thing, but no, it's they still have control of everything. It's just everything is becoming linked, and it's freaking beautiful. We get to live in a time to enjoy this awesome world being created.
And just because we have issues with it doesn't mean that it isn't one of our favorite things in the whole wide world.
Exactly.
I have said multiple times how big an influence Star Wars is on my life, and I understand that the prequels exist, but I still love Star Wars, and it's the same thing. So don't fall on camera, then you're dead. So thank you guys very much. Let us know what you thought of the movie, your favorite parts, your least favorite parts.
There's still so many things.
There's so many things we didn't get to talk about.
So
we'll keep the conversations going in the comments below. Speaking of which, while you're here, go ahead, look right below us. I think it's over here-ish. Click that like. It's a thumb. All right?
Either there or there.
Where's the subscribe button?
Click it.
Click
I just did. I just subscribed. Alright, so make sure you subscribe, you like, you comment, share the video, because the more people we get in on the conversation, the more we get to just go crazy with you guys. And we love it, and that's why we do it. So thank you all very much. Thank you from us. Thank you from Kayla. Thank you from everybody who enjoys all this stuff.
And a big thank you from the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Thank you from the Marvel Cinematic Universe for giving it all of my money.
I gave them so much money this weekend.
And thank you guys very much. Thank you to everyone who's been super duper supportive to us. Thank you to Shield Radio, at Shield Radio on Twitter, or helicarrierpodcast.com. Thank you to our friend over at Pop Cults, who has been sharing our stuff, and they're a friend of mine, they're a friend of ours. They're really, really cool. If you've not checked them out, you can find them. They're really, really awesome. They've been sharing our stuff. So thank you guys very, very much.
For your comments. And
for your comments, for everything, for watching the video about the Marvel Collector Corps with Veronica here.
Hulkbuster scene was so amazing.
Hulkbuster scene wants to go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep.
So
Anyway, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep. So thank you very much, and we will see you later. And remember, we want to hear your nerd shout. We should have cut it off before shout, like Avengers Assemble.
Oh, I'm going to do it.
Do it. Nerd